Hello, everyone, and welcome back. I'm Joe Chappelle, and you're listening to a very special episode 50 of the OBGYN podcast. Over the past several months, we have tackled some very serious topics, and so I wanted to use this nice round number of an episode to do something fun and maybe a little uplifting. One thing that I hope shines through in every episode is that we're all very passionate about medicine in general, and OBGYN in particular. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. And I've gathered a group of regular contributors, and we're all going to share how we got into medicine, OBGYN, and what keeps us passionate about it today. So let me introduce the group. We have Jerry Ballas.
Hey, how you doing?
Julie Leanne.
Hello.
Oystein.
Hey.
Vayu Mesh.
Hi.
And last but not least, Sarah Kim.
Hello.
So we're going to basically just go around the table here, and each person can say they're part of it, and everyone's free to jump in and talk if you want to add on to what someone else is saying. So I put everyone's name into random.org, and the first person that came up was Jerry Ballas. So we're going to start with Jerry. Jerry, tell us why you got into medicine.
Well, growing up, my mom always said I was going to be an obstetrician because I have big hands. No joke. I mean, that was actually the opening line of my residency application. And it sounds funny, but it's kind of an old Greek saying. You know, they always talked about how in the old days, if there were ever any problems getting the baby out, it was always the obstetricians that could actually go in and manipulate and get the baby out that would get them out of trouble. Now, of course, as like a 9-year-old, that made no sense to me, and it just sounded gross. But she persisted. She would tell family members, friends of mine coming over. So I think it just kind of was like a little earworm that stuck in my head. And then as I kind of progressed through college, I realized my dreams of comic book art was probably not going to happen. I leaned towards my background in science, my enjoyment of science, and really kind of brought the two together. It was actually kind of a long haul to get me to really commit to going to medical school. I liked epidemiology. I liked the idea of virology. I liked the idea of going to like the typical kid that likes the idea of going to hot zones and figuring out patient zero and all that stuff. So I actually did my master's in public health first and really kind of got an idea of epi and biostats. But it was actually my mentor during my grad school years, who was also an MD, who kind of set me straight and was like, if you really want to pursue a good career for, not only public health, it really does behoove you to have kind of an MD experience. And so she really motivated me to get back on track, get me into the hospital, get me talking to people about it, and really got me on track for redoing my MCAT, getting all that started, and really getting interested in it. So med school starts, and Joe can attest to this. At Downstate, it was really emergency medicine was kind of the sexy specialty to go into. They were like the cool faculty, and everybody kind of gets seduced in emergency medicine. Meanwhile, the OB department, for lack of a better term, wasn't the strongest at Downstate, at least at the time that we were there. So you kind of get turned around a little bit. And so I actually compared the two all the way up till I had to make a decision between ER and OB. So I remember starting off kind of my fourth year with a sub-I in emergency medicine at Downstate in July, which is like the time to do it because there aren't any interns on the floor. So you really got kind of firsthand experience. And it was cool. I mean, without a doubt, it was like the show. And then August came along and I actually did an away rotation at Mount Sinai for a month. And really got a different view of women's health. So got more of a complete picture of women's health. First time I saw really urogynecology, which actually kind of blew my mind as a medical student. I had no idea the impact that they could have in that realm. I saw academic obstetrics and maternal fetal medicine, which was a crazy thought. And so by the end of August, I was completely just kind of at this impasse. But when I really kind of sat down to think about it, at least when I compared ER and OB, with emergency medicine, I would go into work kind of every day jazzed and like, oh, what am I going to see today? What can come through the door? And I left kind of unfulfilled most days, just kind of same old stuff. OB was kind of the opposite. I kind of went in like scared out of my mind if some disaster was going to happen. I was like, what could happen today? With the delivery? What can happen today with GYN oncology? And without fail, I usually left completely fulfilled with a story to tell. And I think I just connected on a level that no other specialty really could do for me. The pregnant patient, going even further now, I'm in residency, I'm deciding what I want to do further. The pregnant patient by far is the most fascinating patient to me on the planet. I mean, it's just from beginning to end, pregnancy is just a state that we still know so little about, which everyone is touched by in some way at some point in their lives. And there's still so much to study about it. The pregnant patient, I think, personifies the public health need for women's health advocacy. So it kind of wrapped up everything I'm passionate about from beginning to end, between science and research and public health, all the way up to public policy, politics, advocacy. I mean, you can't get more of all of that for me in maternal fetal medicine. And so that's really what kind of guided me towards where I'm at right now. I always tell people that, women's health, like the state of women's health, is truly the core biopsy of where we are as a society. And if there is something harming women's health, or if there's something advancing women's health, in all likelihood, we are either harming society as a whole or advancing society as a whole. And I think women's health, and especially maternal fetal medicine, is at the cusp of that. So that's kind of where I take it all into account. And it's just freaking fun. It really is. I mean, if they told me there was a quota on maternal fetal medicine and I had to go join another specialty, I'd go back to comic book art. There's really no other medical specialty for me.
I think you're going to set the tone here for the rest of us, because I think there's a lot in there from how your passion changed over time, about really finding the things that drew you to NFM up to where you are now. But it started with the little stuff. So that was great. Thank you, Jerry.
And I came from no background of medicine in my family. I was the first to go as far as I have in college and first to go as far as I have in education. Even to this day, my mom every now and then will be like, why are you putting yourself through this? I'll tell her I was on call and she's like, don't you just kind of want to open a pizza place with me or something? Like, why?
By the way, I would go to that pizza place. Yes. Your mom's food is delicious.
Here.
All right, thank you, Jerry. So Julie, you are next up in the random order. So what can you build on here? What do you got?
All right. So I honestly didn't know what I wanted to do when I went into college. Came to the U.S. when I was 5 from China. My parents are immigrants. And so from an early age, I was told you have to do something that is worth your time, makes you a lot of money, and has to be worth it. So it was either, lawyer, business, actually computer science as well, or medicine. So I'm not very good at arguing, and I definitely failed my C++ class in summer school that my dad paid money for to send me to. And so when I went to college, I was like, well, I'm interested in the sciences, so I did a major in biochemistry. And I think it was my first year of college during that summer, I saw a program that I think it was out of Mount Sinai in the city, where you can spend a month at the hospital. I was like, okay, this is interesting. So I got into the program, and I just remember spending the whole summer, I think, with an anesthesiologist. And that was my first foray into medicine. And I just remember following him. I went wherever he went, in cases, in his office, working with medical students, and I just loved being in the hospital. And, seeing patients, helping them, seeing what he did to help patients. And, as an anesthesiologist, he worked with his hands a lot. So that was my first introduction to medicine and got me interested in it. So I did some more volunteer work during college and just to really see if medicine was for me. And and decided after that definitely wanted to do medicine. So I got into medical school, and honestly, still no idea what I wanted to go into. The first 2 years is all classroom, so you just sort of study for tests and take your step one. And then third year, I remember I started out with surgery and 3 months of surgery, and I had some experience given that I had shadowed the anesthesiologist. I was in the OR before, so but now I was on the other side of the table essentially. And I realized I loved being in the OR and working with my hands, but I didn't necessarily love all the sort of general surgery cases and the fact that I felt like they saw patients, they did the surgeries, but they didn't really have much follow up for these patients afterwards. So then my next rotation was OBGYN, and just like most medical students, we have very little introduction into OBGYN during the first 2 years. I had no idea what to expect. So I remember my very first day, I was told to be on labor and delivery of the evening shift. And I showed up late because I got the time all wrong. I was all flustered, like, oh my gosh. But the resident was very, very nice. And she was like, just come in, we're having a delivery right now. I was like, okay. So I go into the delivery and just saw my very first vaginal delivery, and I was awed by it. I was like, oh my God, this is crazy. And then the same night we did a C-section. It was just, one thing after the other, triage patients, labor and delivery, and C-section. So I just loved the variety that was in OBGYN. And I felt like in OBGYN versus surgery, you had all the cases, you worked with your hands, you were in the OR, but you also had the continuity of care that that was missing in surgery. So, did my OBGYN rotation, and after that, it was all downhill. I had peds, I had medicine, which I enjoyed, but it was certainly not lacked the luster that OBGYN held for me. So I remember rounding for several hours, getting on my feet, and I was like, oh, this is not for me. So that's how I decided that OBGYN was a track for me. And I don't regret my decision one bit. Residency was hard, hours were long, but coming out of it and having done fellowship, what drives me is that when I see patients in the office, no matter how small or big their problem is, when you're able to help them and something the patient tells you, doctor, you've given my life back, or I can't believe how much better I feel, that's what drives me.
Fair enough. I think we can all relate to that one, I think. Thank you, Julie. So, Øystein, you're next. I'm very interested to hear your path because it might be a little different than the rest of us.
Yeah, I grew up on a farm in rural Norway. I'm the eldest son, so according to Norwegian law, I have dips on the farm.
Oh, nice.
So that was probably the plan at first, but my dad was never any pushy about it, and he never ever said that I was supposed to take over the farm. He said if I wanted to, I could. If not, then do something else, because he had to take over the farm a bit early because his father got ill. So I think he has always been a bit, felt that he wanted to do something else before. And my mom is also from a farming family, but she's a veterinarian. That's, by the way, how they met. I really liked school and did well at school, and then I was able to get into a good program at university, and I didn't really have any strong feelings towards any subject, to be honest, but I was interested in everything from politics to science, so it was kind of luck that I chose medicine, and I think my mom is a bit like your parents, Julie. I think she pulled the threads, but she was maybe not that upfront about it, but I think she was maybe the reason I got into medicine. I think she wanted me to have a in quotation mark, proper job, like a safe proper job, that that you become something when you go out in the end of the university. So in Norway, you go to university after secondary school, and then you're around 18 years old, and then after 6 years of medical school, you go out to 1.5 years of internship, where you go to general surgery, internal medicine, and general practice, and after that you ask to get taken up with different specialties, and then you start your specialization from day one. And I found out during my medical school that gynecology and obstetrics seemed really interesting. I had not thought about it at all before I started. I had no experience, no family who worked in OBGYN who could tell me anything about it, and but I was fortunate enough to do an exchange program on my OBGYN semester to Melbourne, to the University of Melbourne in Australia. Had really good lecturers there, and it got me hooked. And when I got back, I got in Norwegian work as with a temporary license during the last years of medical school. So I got the job at the sexual health clinic, which is was quite evidence. They were fond of the evidence-based practice, and they had a national responsibility in teaching health station nurses, which is the nurse that sees you after pregnancy and during pregnancy, and sees your kids for follow-up and vaccinations and stuff like that, and also gives birth control and can do simple STD checks. So that was really fun. So and after that, it was either geriatrics or obstetrics and gynecology. And after an internship, I found out that geriatrics wasn't that appealing. That I thought I would just hang out and talk to interesting people about the war, but that turned out not to be the case. It was much more streamlined, and people did not seem happy at the specialty where I did my internship. So I asked during my surgical rotation internship to do some placements at the gynecological department, and they said yes. And the gynecological department said agreed to take me in, and just was excited to see a man wanting to be an obstetrician gynecologist, because they didn't have that many at their department. So I got a really VIP treatment, and I got hooked. Yeah, and I haven't regretted it afterwards. I'm really interested in. I like that you can do surgery, you can do medical treatment, and the hormone endocrinology part interests me. I'm really interested in the evidence base behind what we do, because a lot of it is just tradition. It's hard to do randomized controlled trials, and that really fascinates me. I know that our practice in Norway differs a lot from yours when it comes to some things like breech deliveries, which we still do vaginally. And things like that just fascinates me, why we have different, why we interpret studies differently. And I'm also very interested in the politics behind our field and the global health issues. There's just so much to do in our field, isn't it? And as you said, Jerry, I think you put it really nicely, that how we treat our patient group, our women, is really indicative of how our society is doing. I think that there's a lot of truth to that. So I'm just getting more and more excited about the work. The more time I spend reading, working, and talking to my colleagues, and listening to this podcast and contributing here,
I agree with it. There's so many little niches inside of OBGYN that you could go down a rabbit hole in one thing and not come out for 10 years. So there's always something new to discover, even though it's a relatively small field. It's also very broad.
For sure.
Thank you, Øystein. Next up, we have Vi. So Vi, tell us how you got into medicine. Why OBGYN?
Okay. So for as long as I remember as a kid thinking I want to be a doctor. I have no idea where this idea came from, but from as little as when I was 5, when someone had asked me on video, I think I said doctor. And I think in the back of my mind, a lot of this may have been because when India, people there love their doctors. Their doctors are like family friends. So my pediatrician came to my birthday parties and came to my parents' anniversary. So as a result, it was a very different, essentially, relationship doctors had with their patients. And I'd like to believe that this maybe influenced my initial thoughts of why I wanted to become a doctor. So then when I moved to the US, I kind of went the opposite direction. I got really stressed out that I'd only thought about being a doctor. And then I was like, okay, I have to actively do anything but medicine to really make sure I thought about the other things. Because which 5-year-old knows they want to be a doctor? How can I make a life choice based off of a decision as a 5-year-old? So then I went through this big life soul-searching episode where I thought about everything. So I went from wanting to be a professional dancer. So I did that for a little bit. Then I wanted to open a cafe and serve like 100 different types of avocado toast. And back in 2000, that was a novel idea. I just want to throw out there. So I did that. My poor parents went through
totally
the roller coaster.
by the way, completely worked.
My poor parents went through this roller coaster of career moves and ups and downs and all sorts of things. And then I want to say when I was in high school, I got into this really cool vet medicine program at UC Davis. It was called Cosmos. It's basically science camp, but for some reason it was glorified and this whole nerd factor was removed. And maybe it was just because I grew up in the Bay Area and everyone did things like this. But I went to UC Davis and I think the first week they taught us how to dissect animal cadavers. And this was, I remember distinctly, one of the coolest experiences I had. I'd never seen organs before like that. And this whole experience, I was like, okay, this is awesome. I love biology. I think veterinary medicine might be it. And then very quickly I realized I do not like animals when they are alive. And so that switched immediately. So then finally at the end of that, I was like, okay, I think biology and medicine is still what I'm interested in. And I think that kind of the whole path of trying to actively avoid medicine and coming back to something related to that kind of reaffirmed what I think I knew all along. And then after that, of course, you go through the normal path, getting into med school, going through undergrad, of course, and then getting into med school. I was someone who liked every single thing that I did. I sat down with every program director at one point and said, this is what I want to go into. I started getting a bad rep at the end because nobody took me seriously, but I had that very serious conversation, much to the theme of, I guess, my whole life. And at the end, one of my program directors said, why don't you make a list of all of your favorite things from every single rotation? And then that will help you hone in on what you really like. And I did that. So I loved, in surgery, I loved the procedural portion of it. In medicine, I loved the complex thinking and having long-term care with your patients, and especially in family med. That was the other thing. So at the end, it just turned out that OBGYN was my absolute last rotation because I was pretty sure I wasn't interested in it. So I had scheduled it towards the end. And when you finally made the list, when I did it, it just fit. Everything that I liked, I got. I am someone who likes variety, and I'm someone who gets bored when I do too many of the same things. And I was never bored on OB. It was stressful at times, but never bored. And honestly, at the end, I think I'd also just run out of options. So this seemed to fit and it made sense and it just kind of played out.
So basically the last rotation you did is the one you chose because it was the last one you did?
More or less, I want to say. But I will say though, having been a resident, it has been very interesting. I think the part that I didn't realize is how little residency is the end game. So I think the fact that there's so much more you can pick, so many more ways you can change and model your career. I think Dr. Chappelle and I were having this conversation earlier, how you can really mold it into anything you want to, and you can change that based on which part of your life you're in. And I think that inadvertently is not something I even thought of when I had applied. And I think that's one of the best parts of the field. And I think today, actually, just to sort of end this, I had a really hard rotation last night, or shift last night. We had a lot of difficult post-ops, very complicated patients. I was running around the floor. One of my patients was really sick, and the nurse, one of the nurses recognized me from the labor floor, and she said, "Wait, don't you deliver babies?" And I was like, "Yeah, but we also have GYN patients." And then she said, "Wow, you guys do everything." And I don't know, and that was really nice. It was, despite it being a really difficult night, it kind of made me smile a little, and I realized that's totally true. We do everything, and I'm excited that I chose a field where I can do everything. And Dr. Blaber, your kids sound cute in the background there, but yes. To summarize, I think everything, all the things I did led me to this, and I am so happy to be here, even on the hardest days. I think I can find things to help ground me in the choice that I've made, and I'm excited to kind of see what it turns into being. So maybe if we do this again in a couple years, I'll have more insight to share.
Yeah. We'll have to do that then. Thank you, bye. So we have a last-minute addition to the podcast. Dr. Blaber was able to arrange her life and join us, so she's actually going to scoot in here in the fifth slot. So Jen Blaber, welcome, and why don't you tell us how you got into medicine and what keeps you passionate about it?
So jumping off of what Vi said a little bit, when I was a young kid, all the answers I gave through preschool and elementary school were about being an architect. And so I always wanted to be an architect. My parents bought me this drafting desk, and it went all the way to college with me, this desk. And so I think I don't think I really thought of medicine until later in the game. I went to college knowing that I enjoyed sciences and wound up doing a major in biology and genetics specifically. But I don't think it was until I got involved with the Sexual Assault Center in Montreal that I realized how much I enjoyed being with people and how much I enjoyed being able to help people and make a difference in their lives. And so I think that's when it really turned towards doing medicine. But you would think at that point I would have had some insight that OBGYN would have been something that I would love doing because I was so involved with women's health at that point. But it wasn't. So I went through med school thinking that I wanted to be a surgeon and did a lot of electives fourth year in pediatric surgery and all the surgical subspecialties, really. And then I found, as I got closer to the match and closer to the time to apply for residency, that I was still left a little unfulfilled and that the pathologies that we were seeing in these different rotations just weren't really speaking to me. And so that's when I really started to figure out that women's health was where I wanted to be. And I started doing more electives in OBGYN. I did a sub-I and I did an MFM elective and all good stuff. And it really came to me that women's health was where I wanted to be at that point. And that's when I started to feel passionate about the patients I was taking care of. It was all coming together. Medicine is where I want to be, but also women's health is where I need to be. And so that's when it really came together for me. And then through residency, I think that surgery thing kept peaking in a little bit. And there was a time when I thought I would be a urogynecologist, and that didn't quite pan out. But I fell into a wonderful mixed program, and I'm very passionate about what I do now. And I think I've really found my niche. And I look forward to learning exciting new things and continuing this career.
I think that we're all kind of hitting similar themes today, so that's good. Thank you, Dr. Blaber. I'm glad you could join us.
Sorry about the kids.
That's okay. And then, so we're closing up on the end here, so let's bring it over to Dr. Sarah Kim, and what do you have for us?
Yeah, I mean, I think I agree. There's like a very common theme going on, which I'm pretty sure I'm probably going to reflect as well. So for me, growing up, I think my first interest in medicine came about when actually my grandmother passed away from ovarian cancer. It was like the very first death that I've experienced when I was in elementary school. So it really hit home as to like someone passing away, and then just, especially from having ovarian cancer. And she was also the first one who ever bought me like my first like toy stethoscope. So I kind of felt really attached to like going into medicine and kind of representing specifically kind of like had an interest in women's health, not even knowing like what that meant, but I was very inclined to kind of raising awareness and education, especially for my culture. Women's health is not really a big thing, especially during my grandmother's age. So that was kind of big for me. So when I went to college, I actually trained to become a emergency medical technician. So I volunteered at a firehouse and basically went with the paramedics to kind of be an EMT. Not knowing exactly what that meant, but I wanted to kind of serve the community more and get my feet wet in like more medicine stuff. But realized that A, I wasn't really interested in like emergency medicine stuff, and B, I really like having people interaction. Because in college, one of my biology professors had asked me if I was interested in like having like a PhD and working in a lab, and I realized that I wanted more people interaction. So I applied to medical school, and initially I was interested in family medicine, kind of like what everyone's been saying. People kind of wanted more continuity of care with patients and really being in the community. I felt like could really come from being in family medicine practice. And there was one particular attending medical school that I kind of envisioned myself being. She was in internal medicine, had a women's preventative health clinic that she kind of ran herself. So I was like, that's perfect. That's exactly what I want to do. So I'm just going to go to medicine, and that's the specialty I want to do. So I actually volunteered or became the chair of the women's free clinic that the med students ran, thinking that's what I want to do. And people asked me, because I was running that clinic, are you interested in OBGYN? I'm like, no, like, of course not. I don't want to be doing that my whole life. Because maybe common for other places, but OBGYN generally is not, because people don't have much exposure to it coming into medical school, it's not on their top list of this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. So I decided this is definitely not for me. And then something happened in med school where, I've always had a very benign heart murmur all my life. Third year med school, I was told that the heart murmur was getting worse. So I went to follow the cardiologist and had an echo done that showed basically that I had very significant mitral valve regurgitation and requiring surgery. I know that's shocking, right? So it actually changed my life as for me as a perspective on my own health as well. And I had to have surgery and had a minimally invasive mitral valve repair during third year medical school. And by that time, I'd already done every single rotation except for OB and general surgery. So my cardiothoracic surgeon also recommended that maybe I take like 4 to 6 months off, just because he was very aware that those 2 rotations were a little bit more intense on the hours, being on your feet, being in the OR. But I was adamant that I still want to go right back in.
Of course you were.
So of course, knowing myself, I did listen to my surgeon. I just went right back to work. So 4 weeks post-op, I started my OB rotation, and everyone was very nice. They're like, at any time you feel tired, you feel like you're going to faint, please just walk out of the OR. I was like, sure. I love the OR, and I realized that was something that was missing. I think when my interest in family medicine, I always felt that something was a little like lacking in that aspect. And when I did my OB rotation, I never felt fatigued despite having the surgery until like I got home and passed out. But when I was working, I was so intrigued by what I was doing and realized that I didn't really know what it was until I actually experienced the rotation myself. I love that there's continuity care. There's a lot of stuff you could do, ranging from delivering babies all the way to treating on patients. And everyone is a lot of times very passionate about what they're doing. And I think that really I went pretty deep with what I wanted to do, and I decided that pretty late, because I was literally by one of my last rotations to do that's what I wanted to do. So I had to tell the internal medicine attending, who was kind of like my mentor, that I'm no longer going to be applying to internal medicine. I decided to OBGYN, and I don't regret that decision at all. I think definitely residency could be tiring, but you definitely have those moments when it is very rewarding. You get to have that build that rapport with your patients, and that's exactly what I wanted. I wanted to always have follow up with my patients, build that rapport, be there and for them from the beginning of life to potentially to their end. And I think that is very rare to find in any other specialty. And for me, that's why I don't regret that decision.
Thank you, Sarah. I think there's a through line going through all of our stories here today. Mine's going to have the same, so I guess it's my turn. I actually got interested in medicine, and I hate to admit this, but it's true. And I think Jerry and Jen, because we're of a similar age, will agree that the television show in the 90s called ER, which was very, very popular. And it really did. It was kind of like one of the big first medical shows that wasn't about, it actually had real medicine in it. Now, ER was a little ridiculous, especially in later seasons, but in those first few seasons, there was a lot of actual medicine there, and they made it look real sexy. Now, of course, the reality of life, as Jerry found in his emergency medicine rotation, is not always that sexy, right? But that's the first thing that really got me excited about medicine and biology. And I did biology electives in high school and really liked it. So that's what I did when I went into undergrad, was to do biology. And I was pre-med. When I got to my organic chemistry class in my second year, and by the third test in the class, I had a 23 out of 100. I thought that maybe I wouldn't be pre-med. That wasn't going to work for me.
Or an organic chemist.
I know. But I did end up pulling a B- out in that class, so I pulled it together at the end. But that kind of changed my trajectory, because I thought maybe I didn't have what it took to be a doctor, because I couldn't do organic chemistry. Now, it sounds ridiculous, I understand, but that's how I felt at the time. So I went and did research in molecular biology, and when I graduated, that's what I did. And I spent 2 years doing bench research, and like Sarah, I decided that, you know what, that really wasn't for me. I actually liked talking to people, and I didn't really like growing yeast that much, or flow cytometry machines.
Neither do I.
We like to fight it now.
Exactly. I deal with yeast in a different strain now, different capacity.
Treat that.
So I decided to go to med school, but I didn't have a traditional kind of trajectory towards medical school, so I didn't have all the things. In fact, if I tried to get into medical school today, I'm sure I wouldn't even get an interview. But I applied to 16 medical schools. I got 1 interview at Downstate, where Jerry was, and I got 1 acceptance off the wait list. And here I am today. But once I got to med school, this is my story I think goes similar to you guys. I had a mentor. We got paired into with an outpatient, doctor as part of our curriculum. I'm sure we all had similar experience in med school, and mine happened to be Gwen Gentili, who's the person I've talked about on the show before, and she was very, very passionate about contraception and women empowerment, and she changed my life. She opened my eyes to this whole aspect about really society and culture that had to do with empowering women to have control over their life, and that we could do that as doctors by something so simple as giving them contraception just blew my mind. And she's really one got me passionate about women's health. That being said, I still didn't really want to be an OBGYN until, like some of you, my last rotation of my medical school, I did OB, and I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. Wait, are you telling me I get to deliver babies, do surgery, and know my patients all at the same time? Well, I mean, where do I sign? Right. And so, I went into my last rotation planning on being a pediatric surgeon, and I came out 6 weeks later applying for OB. And I think that for a lot of us in OB/GYN now, that is the story. Most of us didn't go into our rotation knowing that's what we wanted to do. Now, some of us did, but I think most of us did not. But even in OB/GYN, a lot of it to me is, like Vi was saying, it's not only doing the really cool hysterectomy or the cystectomy or something like that. It's about doing that on someone that you know, that has been seeing you for 3 or 4 or 5 years and dealing with the problem. It's not like they come to you for a consult, you operate, and they go away. And we do that too sometimes. But there's a lot more intimacy in our field than there is in other surgical fields. And that's really what drives me to it. I have women I did hysterectomies on 5-6 years ago, and I see them every year for their annual. And that's just special. I think you don't get that everywhere else. And then as far as the rest of my career, I mean, I fell into what I do now, which is really administration, just because I liked it, I suppose. You know, you get a little taste of it and you start doing it, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, I guess I could do that. And what has driven me now, what keeps me passionate about what I do today, is not only the clinical aspect of care, as Oystein said, the clinical-based medicine, evidence-based medicine of saying what is the best way to do what I do now, and how much of what I do today is based on bullshit. And the spoiler alert, most of it, right? And then the other part of it is we have all these systems that are in place. Each hospital is different, each office is different, and those systems can either help us or hinder us. And I feel like there's very few people who really look at those systems and say, how can I make that better? And it's amazing what one little thing can do to a system, and the whole system works so much better. And that makes us happier, it makes the patients happier, improves care. And I don't know, that really speaks to me. And I think it also goes back to the whole thing with being able to change a woman's life by giving her a birth control pill. Like, I can do something similar in a system and say, if we just change this one thing, a power plan, a care pathway, we are saving women from having a stroke or having a seizure or whatever else. And it's one little thing, and you can make a huge difference in someone's life. And so I think that kind of passion is what keeps me coming back day after day, year after year, and why we have this podcast. So I'll leave that at that. Well, this was a lot of fun. I was very excited about it. I know that you were all excited about it too, because you all took time out of your Saturday, for those listening at home, we're recording on Saturday, to really spend time talking about why you do what you do and why you contribute to the podcast. So this is my opportunity to say thank you to all of you for being here today, but also for all the work you do for the podcast and all the work you do for your patients. And I appreciate you all, and just thank you very much.
We're happy to do it.
Yes, thank you, Joseph.
Thank you.
So this is episode 50, and we're going to have another 50 or 100 or 200 more. And these people you're listening to are the people who are going to make that happen. So with that, I want to thank all of you listeners for spending your time with us and sharing the last 50 episodes with us.